Good morning. It's good to be with you again this morning. It looks like we won't be apart much longer. Looks like we might be getting back to somewhat what is normal and we'll be worshiping together. I certainly hope that's the case, although I don't want to put anybody at risk by moving too quickly. I trust that you all are safe and well. Let's open this morning with prayer. Dear God, on this fourth Sunday of Easter, we come to you filled with the story of Christ's love. God of all the sheep, those who remain close to you and those who stray, those who are always faithful and those who are lost, be with us today. Help us take a look at our lives and our relationship to you. Bring us close, draw us in. We gather today to learn about Jesus' sacrificial nature. He described himself as a good shepherd, the gate of the sheepfold, the protector of God's creatures. Open us to receive fresh meaning from ancient stories so that we may adapt our own lives so that of modern day shepherds. Merciful and loving God, you call us your beloved ones and you seek to protect us, but we love to take risks emotionally, spiritually, physically. Call to us again. Help us to hear your voice. Give us hearts of love and compassion for all our dear ones who suffer illness and in adversity. Be with those who hunger and thirst for your love. Help us to be always open to the opportunity to share your love with others that you often place in front of us. You always accepted us, so let us accept others. Help us to love others in a way that you love us unconditionally. We ask this in the name of the Good Shepherd, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Now, my sermon text today comes from John chapter 10, verses 1 through 10. I assure you that whoever doesn't enter into the sheep pen through the gate but climbs over the wall is a thief and an outlaw. The one who enters through the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The guard at the gate opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. Whenever he has gathered all of his sheep, he goes before them, and they follow him because they know his voice. They won't follow a stranger, but will run away because they don't know the stranger's voice. Those who heard Jesus use this analogy didn't understand what he was saying. So Jesus spoke again. I assure you that I am the gate of the sheep. All who come before me were thieves and outlaws, but the sheep didn't listen to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. Those who come in and go out and find pasture. The sheep enters only to steal, kill, and destroy. I come so that they could have life. Indeed, so they could live life to the fullest. Other translations to have life abundantly. May the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his holy words. Today is what is often called Shepherd Sunday. And so we have the reading from John, who gives us the image of Jesus as a shepherd. Now, I like that image. It's a comforting image. It's a comforting image of a shepherd sitting on a grassy hillside and watching white sheep scattered all over the green grass. It also leads to an image of the shepherd going after that one lost sheep and carrying it back to the fold and safety. Today is a continuation of Jesus' discussion that he's been having with the Pharisees and other religious leaders who really have no idea who and what he is. They are convinced that he is there to undermine their authority and to ruin their religion. And their job, as they see it, is to keep the religion pure no matter at what cost. So Jesus tells them the parable, which illustrates that he is the Messiah and the one that they have been waiting for so long. And this is one of his numerous I am statements. Today he says, I am the gate. Sometimes the Greek word used here is translated door, but more than often it's translated as gate. And Jesus says he is the gate. He is the only way into the sheep pen. He is the gate, and if you're going to have life and life abundantly, you must go through him. He is the only way. He is the only way to salvation. In John 14:6, Jesus says, I am the way and the truth, and no one comes to the Father except through me. There is no other way. However, he does point out that there might be others that will enter into another way and come and steal the sheep. So we're being reminded that unfortunately there's going to be some false teachers. There's going to be false doctrines. There's going to be false promises. There's going to be things that look really good and promise a lot and can lead us away from Jesus. But they deliver very little. Jesus knew how easy it would be to stray. He knew how easy it is to follow that voice of the world. He knew how easy it is to be led out into the desert. And we'll end up lost, thirsty for the living water that's found only in Jesus Christ. It is those times that when we're up to our neck in trouble that we cry out, Jesus, save me. And Jesus comes and gently lifts us up and carries us on his strong shoulder back into the fold and safety. Jesus says that he is the shepherd that lies in the gate at night and protects the sheep. Then in the next morning, he is a shepherd that leads them out to find green pasture. To most of us, sheep look alike. But to a shepherd, he knows each one and can tell them apart. He is aware of their unique markings. And he knows each one behavior. He knows that some is content to stay with the flock, while others are prone to wander away in search of greener pastures. Not much different than we are. And he knows us. He knows each one of us intimately. He knows our strengths and our weaknesses. He knows our private as well as our public self. He knows what we're capable even if we do not. The psalmist put it this way: O Lord, you searched me and have known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from far off. You search my path and where I lay down. You are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on the tongue, O Lord, you know it. Jesus knows his sheep. He knows us by name, even before we knew him. Remember what he said to Nathanael? He said, behold, an Israelite in whom there is no guile. And remember what Nathan said back to Jesus? How do you know me? Obviously, they had never met before. Zacchaeus was on a tree, hoping to get a glimpse of Jesus as he passed by. And Jesus looks up and calls him name. And as far as I know, they had never met before. But Jesus knew his name. I'm not very good with names, as you probably have figured out by now. But I do know how important names are. And Jesus never forgets our name. He knew our name even before we had a name. I don't know if you remember a Disney movie that came out in about 2001 called Monsters Incorporated. It's a cute little movie. In case you've forgotten or hasn't seen it, it's about monsters who live pretty much as we do. They have homes and friends. They go to work at a factory called Monsters Incorporated, and their business is scaring children. So within the factory, there's many doors and conveyor belts that lead to the closets of children. And their job is to go into the child's room and scare them. And they get energy from the screams of the children, and that's what their world runs on. So they go around, they collected these screams in little tanks, like little air tanks, and they take them back to the factory. These monsters actually are quite harmless. They're just fuzzy, furry little creatures doing their jobs. In fact, they are just as afraid, or more so, of children than children are of them. They have a terrible fear of children and go to great pains to remain separated from them. Sully, one of the main characters, goes out to scare a little girl, and he messes up the job, and she gets it back unknown to him, and he transports her back to his world. When Sully discovers her, he's terrified because he's been taught to fear children, just like we've been taught to fear some people. But he cannot return her until he finds the right door, which takes considerable time. And while he searches for the right door, he takes care of the little girl, and he begins to lose his fear of her, and in fact, even begins to like her. He even gives her a name. He calls her Boo. And that really disturbs Mike, his best friend, who also worked at Monsters Incorporated. He said, "Oh no, not a name. When you give a name, that's when you're attached to it." Yes, your name carries attachment. And isn't it wonderful that Jesus, as our shepherd, knows each one of our names? He's attached to us and cares for us like no one else could ever care for us. It's also interesting that shepherds in the time of Jesus did not drive sheep like we do. They led their sheep. Several flocks would come together at night for protection. In the morning, rather than trying to sort them out there, the shepherd would make his own sound or sing his own particular song, and the sheep would follow. When they got away from other flocks, then they could stop and count to see if he had all the sheep. The sheep hear my voice, Jesus says, and I know them, and they follow me. The good shepherd leads his sheep. He guides his sheep. The Lord is my shepherd, it says. We shall not want. He makes us lie down in green pastures beside the still waters. He guides us in the paths of righteousness. He leads us. He guides us. The safest place, no doubt, is in the sheep pen. Here we're protected. Here the sheep are protected. But to find the green grass, they have to leave the safety of the sheep pen. And when they do that, there's risk involved. They might be lost or stolen, or they might come across dangerous animals, or they might fall over a cliff. But with a shepherd watching them and leading them, they can leave the flock, or they can leave the sheep pen, because his rod and his staff protects them. God's never content to leave us in the sheep pen. He's never content to leave us in a safe place. God's always calling us to new pastures, new ministries, new experiences. Oh, we can resist and refuse, but when we do, we miss out on all the promises of abundant life that Jesus shares with us. Jesus is the good shepherd and calls us by name and walks ahead, making sure that the way is safe, making sure that we have what we need. Jesus tells us that he has other sheep on this pen that he must bring in. That's our mission. We're called to be a voice leading others into the sheep pen and life abundantly. So the question is today, as Jesus followers, are we going to stay locked up in the pen where it's safe? Or are we going to venture out and follow the good shepherd's voice? If we risk venturing out, we're going to have to take some risks. There's going to be times of difficulties. We might be rejected. There might be stumbling blocks that come before us. Everything might not be smooth sailing. But there is life, and life abundantly outside the pen. So where are you going to choose to be? In the pen where it's safe? Or out of the pen where it's exciting and where there is life, and life abundantly? And that is the word of the Lord for this day. So let us close with a prayer. Lord, be with us as we go about our week. Help us to listen to the voice of the Good Shepherd. Help us to be open to those opportunities of service that he constantly brings to us. And now, refreshed by the Spirit of God, go forth to forge new paths of sharing and caring in the world. Amen. I'll see you Wednesday.